So what's the difference between a mortgage and deed of trust? A lot of times we use those terms interchangeably. We say, oh, they're going to make their mortgage payment, and or I'm going to record a mortgage, that type of thing. When really you're referring to a deed of trust or a loan payment or something like that. But we've kind of used those terms, mortgage and deed of trust, interchangeably, or more often than not, we refer to a deed of trust as a mortgage. But in reality, they really are two separate instruments. And it is important to understand the differences between those instruments. So, first, a mortgage is kind of your traditional lien against real estate to secure a loan. And it's what was used for a significant period of time to secure loans. So if you have a loan and you've given a promissory note to the lender, the mortgage was then recorded securing that loan. And the mortgage is basically giving the lender a lien against real estate, whereby that lender, if they're not being paid, can foreclose against the real estate. Before the advent of deeds of trust, a mortgage would have to be foreclosed judicially, which means you would have to go and file a lawsuit with the court, serve the lawsuit, go through the process, and have the court enter a judgment basically authorizing the sheriff of whatever county the property is located to sell the property at a sheriff's sale. And that was the process to foreclose a mortgage. Well, as you can imagine, creditors didn't like that. So they came up with the idea of a deed of trust. And a deed of trust is given to secure the repayment of a loan. And it does also act as a lien against the property, but it does more than just act as a lien against the property. It actually, from a legal perspective, places bare title into the hands of a trustee. So technically you're placing title of the property into the hands of a trustee named in the deed of trust, who then has the power to sell the property without going to court. So they can do what's called a trustee sale. And they can go and basically record notice of that trustee sale, follow the applicable requirements of the law, and then they go and they can actually complete the foreclosure of the property without ever filing a lawsuit, without any court supervision or oversight. And they complete it. It's a lot faster, more efficient, more cost-effective method of foreclosing. Now, not every state offers a deed of trust. It's kind of a mixed bag here in the US. About half of the states will allow for deeds of trust, and other states remain mortgage states. In Arizona, we allow both deeds of trust and mortgages. So we still could allow mortgages, but 99% of the time, nobody takes a mortgage in Arizona, because why do you want to have to foreclose judicially? You want to be able to foreclose outside of the court system. So when you're talking about loans and loans being secured against real estate, it's important to understand what instrument, number one, the state that you're doing business in allows. So if you're a lender, you should probably figure out, okay, am I going to make a loan to a borrower in a mortgage state, which means I probably have to go into court and foreclose that mortgage judicially with court oversight, which is going to take a little longer and be more costly? Or am I making a loan in a deed of trust state where I can actually have a private trustee foreclose on the property outside of the court system, which is going to be less time consuming and more cost effective. And so that's even one consideration when making private loans is, what state am I dealing with? What are the laws in the state as far as mortgages and deeds of trust? And then making sure to choose the correct instrument. So I've seen situations where in Arizona, somebody who wasn't used to Arizona's laws and maybe was a private lender making loans in mortgage states, they use their mortgage form here in Arizona and recorded that, thinking that that's what they had to do to secure the loan. Well, it worked, but they still would have to do a judicial foreclosure. And so in hindsight, they should have been doing a deed of trust. So it's very important to understand the differences. If you're going to lend money, or you're going to sell property on a like a seller carryback or something along those lines, it's very important that you understand the difference between a mortgage and deed of trust, and you understand the laws of the state that you're dealing in with respect to those two instruments.